Welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. And this week, Seasons Don't Fear the Reaper. We're talking about the Mind of James Svengal. Cue the music! Hello there, Capers, and welcome to PodCapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. This is the show where we talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and are joined each week by a very special different guest. Now, my name's Scott James Merridew, and this week we'll talk about a very interesting comic called The Mind of James Svengal. And it was done by two very interesting folks. Please, Capers, give a warm, a place to hang your cape welcome to Lyndon White and Jordan Adams.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello to you guys. How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh, well, how are you?
I'm always well. I'm always great when I'm talking about interesting comics. And guys, this is a pretty interesting comic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks to intro.
Absolutely. So, but before we go talking about the comic, let's talk about you guys. Let's see, who are you guys? What do you do? Give us your life story.
Yeah.
Lyndon, you go first.
Okay. So I'm a full-time freelance illustrator, and majority of my freelance work is now comics, which is amazing. So pretty much every day I'm sat at my desk drawing something, whether it's mostly comics now, but it's ranging from like children's books, comics, publishing, cover artwork, that sort of thing.
Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Awesome. And Jordan?
I am a comic book writer mostly now, but got my start in screenwriting, doing bits and bobs of script doctoring, kind of sprinkling pixie dust on scripts to hopefully make them better.
The not shit sprinkles.
No, they were not shit sprinkles. I didn't know we could swear. This is great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, trust me, we can swear. We can swear all the live long day on this fucking show.
Yeah, so I didn't sprinkle any shit, hopefully, on any of the scripts I was working on. And then started to move over into working on short comics for anthologies, which is how I met Lyndon. And then it's kind of escalated up to there. And this is the first full-length book I've been involved with.
Yeah, and so now we've come to the crux of the matter, the Mind of James Svengal. So, guys, in your own words, how you describe this book? What's it about?
Do you want to do it, Jordan, or shall I?
No, I think we should establish a shorthand here where you answer first and I answer second.
Okay, we'll just make it all streamlined. Okay, so The Mind of James Svengal is a 180-page graphic novel. It's about a guy dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. It's about himself trying to keep himself together while falling apart.
For my dime, it's about obviously an artist who, as Lyndon says, struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder. He becomes addicted to experimental hallucinogenic pills, which kind of become his crutch, his coping mechanism, rather than actually, talking and dealing with the issue properly. So, it's about guilt and addiction, recovery, self-acceptance, those kind of things.
Yeah, all very interesting stuff. And I mean, I when it comes to my comics, I tend to go towards the more superhero-esque stuff, because this is what we do. We're PodCapers. But this comic just sort of stands out just because, I mean, for me, and maybe it's because, so Jordan, you wrote it, and because you've got a background in script writing, for me it felt, unlike a lot of other comics of its ilk, very cinematic in terms of its flow and its structure. You know?
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point, really, because I drew a lot of influence from outside of comics and kind of brought them in with this one. So there was I'm a big fan of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind of the Charlie Kaufman movie. So that kind of
love Charlie Kaufman.
So good.
Isn't he great? We could just do the whole podcast about him there.
Yeah, honestly I could. Do you guys see Anomalisa?
I have not.
I have not either.
Oh, shame on both of you. A plague on both your houses. Honestly, it's brilliant. It's goddamn brilliant. But it's. He's one of my favorite writers. I wouldn't say he's my absolute favorite writer, just because I tend to go, because I'm a very simple creature. I tend to go for the more flashier writers. I'm all about the Joss Whedon and stuff like that. But
Whedon.
In Whedon we trust.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Our Lord and Savior Joss Whedon. But let's not talk about other writers. Talk about you guys. So first thing I want to do is now the big selling point of this book is the art. It's I've seen stuff I could say is similar, but not in a comic. I've never seen something like that in a comic. So I don't usually do this because I don't really have a head for how things are illustrated, how things are drawn. But I want to ask you, Lynn, what exactly was the illustration drawing process? Let's get technical up in here.
Technical, okay. So I used to paint everything by hand on like massive canvas paintings, which takes absolutely forever. And it's a pain in the arse if a client suddenly decides that they want to change, say, something that is green to red, because you've got to repaint the whole thing or that section. So I pencil ink everything by hand, and then I color it digitally. So that lets me change the colors. So there's lots of ink wash and watercolor in there.
So I thought there was watercolor. I thought there was watercolor because I don't have a very big, at least in this way, artistic background. But my family has always been sort of big on watercolors. My grandfather has done a lot of paintings and drawings and stuff like that in watercolors. My mum has also done similar stuff like that. And so I wouldn't say I'm familiar, but I know a bit about it. And I thought I recognized it. And I thought, am I just making this up, or is that generally what he did?
Yeah. It's well, most of it is black Indian ink that I've watered down, and then I've touched it up with watercolor in places if I need to. But all the original artwork is in grayscale. So it's all black and white, and then the color comes in later digitally, because I've made brushes on my computer that work the same way as if you were using oils or acrylic. So it just means it's flexible and easy to edit, because you do get some pages where it's like painting. You have to paint the layers and you've got to mix it and you've got to do all that kind of stuff, but you generally want to edit it, especially on a book like this where there's lots of color and color bleeds out of panels and stuff. It needs to be you need to be able to edit it.
Yeah, and that's another thing I like about it, is like the color it escapes beyond the borders of the panels. And in fact, I never usually notice it, but the panel lines themselves, not a single one of them is straight. They're all wavy and shifting and flowing, and I really like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the reason we've done it this way is because the artwork is meant to reflect the themes of the comic and what James is going through. So it wouldn't have the same effect if it's all clean and pretty and neat and tidy. Because James is going through a lot of issues and he's essentially not dealing with his problems. So we want the artwork to reflect that.
Yeah, a bit of the thematic dissonance. We don't want that.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
We use terms like that on this show. Thematic dissonance. What of it?
Dropping word bombs.
Yeah. I'm insecure, so I have to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So, but one thing I know a bit about, because it's more my style, is the writing side of it. So, Jordan, tell us about writing for this and how what that was like and what you were thinking of when you were writing it.
Well, obviously, it's. I'd say it's probably quasi autobiographical. Like, it's not like inherently about anything I've been through. Like, I haven't hit anyone with a car, so I'm not drawing from that, but it is kind of exaggerating experiences from my life.
You write about what you know.
Yeah, and kind of for this one, I didn't want to handle them in such a dry way, so I decided to run them through kind of surreal filter, I guess.
Well, everything's better through a surreal filter.
Yeah, props for surrealism, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my worry was that if we approached it in, like I said, like a dry, really heavy way, then the message would be lost under all the grit kind of thing. Yeah,
I mean, I like naturalistic stuff, but there comes a point where it's just like, can we have maybe just like a little bit of fantastical element to this? Because life is a fantastical element, and when you view it through the eyes of someone else, that's when it becomes even more fantastical.
Exactly, and I think that was what gave, some of the dream sequences are incredibly surreal, and that gave Lyndon a chance to really do what he does best and bring that out and show it that way.
And one of the fantastical elements with regards to the artwork that I really like, and this is something that I've seen a couple of times in comics to varying degrees of effectiveness, is you incorporate music into it.
We do indeed.
Yeah. Now I mentioned at the beginning of this, "Don't Fear the Reaper," that great song. That's quite it's sort of like the theme for this comic in a way. That song crops up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's used as one of James's triggers. So when he hears a song, it triggers his anxiety, and usually if he hears it in like a ringtone, or it relates back to the events that caused his anxiety and what's led to his addiction. So when he hears a song, it triggers, and you see it floating through panels, and it affects him mentally and physically.
And it's because we first see it. One of the first times we see it is it's in a dream sequence, and he's walking along the beach. He sees a gramophone, starts playing the gramophone, and it comes out. But it also has these weird, bluish, grey, twisty. I don't want to say vines or something, but these interesting sort of flowing things come out. And what I like about it is because it's very difficult to put an auditory medium into a medium that is purely visual. And I've seen a lot of comics do that. The best example I can think of is Scott Pilgrim. A lot of Scott Pilgrim books had songs in them. And as much as I like Scott Pilgrim, when I was reading them, it's just like, okay, so these are all new songs, but I don't really know what the song is like, because I'm just basically reading lyrics right now. And that's fine, but it doesn't really have the effect that I think the author really wants to. Here, though, it helps that A, it's a song I already know, and B, they're attached to this visual thing. There's a point to them being there beyond just like, here's the lyrics from the song.
Yeah, the lyrics are really good at making panels seem claustrophobic and have a weight. Otherwise, it would just be floating music. So they've got some kind of physical presence to James as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to add though, but like in terms of tone as well, you were saying about like having not known the songs in Scott Pilgrim. I think that like because it's Don't For the Reaper is a song that's universally well known. That obviously people already know the tone of the song and the feel and the vibe of it, and that kind of colours the way you would read it.
Yeah, it's just, as you say, I just find it interesting when you incorporate these two things together again, because I hear the song in my head when I'm reading it, as much as I hear the dialogue in my head when I'm reading it, and I think it adds something. It's really effective, I think.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's worked. We didn't really want... Yeah.
Validation!
Yay! I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there because it's... Visually, it looks like quite a arty book, and we didn't want to do like... There's things that we didn't want to put in there and just do it for the sake of it. You know, we didn't want to do like art for art's sake.
Oh god, no! I hate that. I hate that. Yeah, it's like ooh. It's the other thing I really like is like modern art, performance art, where you just like you put a random like a handbag in the middle of a blank space and like, look, it's art. No, you just put a handbag in the middle of a blank space. You gotta put effort into it. You gotta actually think about what you're doing. Jeez.
Oh yeah, if you want to get into like ranting about fine art, yeah. Anyway, we'll go on a tangent. We're here all day.
Yeah. So, one of the big themes of this book is how we process things, how we process trauma, how we process problems, how we process emotions, and one of the first sort of methods, if you will, of processing this stuff are dreams, because James visits a therapist, and he says that often dreams are a good way of processing how you think and how you feel. Frankly, I think that's bullshit, because that's never worked for me. God damn it. It's never... My dreams are too weird to help me. I wake up confused every morning. Last night I had a dream where I went to the pub with the characters from Wind in the Willows. What does that signify? Huh?
Right, who had what, though? Who had what? Which Wind in the Willows character had which drink?
Mr. Toad had a pint of lager, which I found very suspect, because frankly, he's a landed gentry, you know? I think he would go for something a bit more fancier. I can't remember what Mole had.
Like a sherry?
He could have had a sherry, but he didn't. And I was thinking, because okay, right, so, as I said, I'm a very simple creature, so I am a big adherent to the 3-act structure. I like it. It's safe, it's cozy for me, it's not too confrontational. None of my dreams are in the 3-act structure. So part of my subconscious is always like, this feels weird, this feels wrong. How did I get into a pub with the characters from Wind in the Willows? This makes no goddamn sense. I'm teetotal, I don't even drink. You're getting a
So
keen
raising
insight
more
into
questions.
Yeah, you're getting a keen insight
Yeah,
into
like
my
why were you in the
mind.
bar?
I don't
This is what we do. We
know.
draw it out.
But to get back on point, back to the stuff, talking about dreams, and this is one of the earliest things, him having a dream, and I just thought that was an interesting way of showing one of the many ways people sort of process stuff. What was your thinking going into that?
It was because, generally speaking, I mean, I don't know what your Wind in the Willows dream symbolizes you that you're anxious about. But generally, we do tend to dream most about things that we are indeed anxious about, and things that we've got coming up, or maybe things from our past that we haven't quite resolved yet, and it kind of, our subconscious deals with it that way. So I wanted to kind of, because every dream that James has is usually triggered by something that happened like at the scene previous or the scene previous to that one. So it's always something that is, present on his mind at the time.
Yeah, it's like a cause and effect.
Yeah, like if he needs to resolve something, that's kind of the arena he tends to do it in, which again symbolizes the fact that he's not doing it in the real world, because obviously in a dream you're not in control. You can't really have any agency over what you're doing, and that's kind of James's problem. Like, he in the real world is pushing everyone away and using like self-medicating and avoiding the problem, and in his dreams he's obviously it's being dealt with there.
I just thought that was really interesting, and this sort of ties into something I thought was like this idea of this is my perspective on it, like powerlessness. Like, there's a conversation you have with a character whose names I've forgotten. God, she's blonde. What was it?
Sam,
that was it. And it's this conversation you have, like, just what is the idea of, is free will an illusion? Are we slaves to brain chemistry and things like that? And is it could we really work through something, or is our brain just going to sort itself out? And if not, it doesn't. And I thought it was an interesting thing to bring up.
It was the meta. I was interested in the metaphysics at the time.
But possibly, yeah. It's just. I always like this idea that we don't really have free will, and that we are just code locked to our DNA, and that anything we do, it's already pre-programmed, and there is no free will, and everything we do is just pre-programmed until it all ends. I have a bleak side,
nice,
guys.
happy outlook.
Like I said, quite the nihilist.
I'm a nihilist and an optimist and a cynic and a skeptic all at once. I'm a complicated person. But that's what I like about this comic, is that it explores different facets of similar ideas. This idea of dealing with trauma. Could we really deal with it? Actually, yes, we can do it. How do we do it? There are multiple different ways. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. I like how it's not just, here's a problem, here's how you solve it, bush, done. You actually take time to bring up these ideas.
Yeah, I mean that's partly why the book is so long, because if you did it as like a one issue comic and had it done in 20 pages, you wouldn't actually see the growth, and you wouldn't see James fail and at least try and he's not gonna. You don't always deal with your problems straight away and get it right first time. He is quite self-destructive.
Yeah, it's a journey, and journeys sometimes have pitfalls and backsteps and stuff like that. Oh.
Yep.
Sorry, I thought you lost guys for a second there. You're thinking about the profoundness of my words. God, this guy's really onto something.
I know. We were musing on it.
Muse on it. Yeah, I just found that interesting. And I think one of the biggest focal points with regards to how he deals with his trauma is his relationship with Beatrix. And I really like this relationship because it's done in a way that, at least from my perspective, there's no bad guy in the relationship. There are just problems and two people trying to work stuff out. And they both got their own issues. I really like that.
See, I'm glad to hear that, because that was kind of the intention, because I think a lot of, obviously, any story that has like a relationship arc to it, a relationship facet to it, they always tend to have like you say, one person in the wrong, one person's in the right, like victim, and yeah, you know what I mean. So it was important to us to make sure that, as you say, there wasn't like a right or wrong to it. Like they were both kind of poorly dealing with issues, and that itself was the problem.
Yeah, and you could agree with one or disagree with the other, or condemn one or judge the other, but at the end of the day, they're just two people trying to work something out, and it doesn't always work. I mean, the big thing. So basically, as I say, James is dealing with PTSD. He is really, really struggling, and he is sometimes a bit of a burden on his fiancée, Beatrix. And she's really trying to help him, but sometimes she views him more as less of a fiancé and less of a lover, and more of as a problem, as a burden. And he really doesn't like that. She obviously doesn't like that. But that's sometimes how she feels. And it's like, I'm thinking, like, are we really meant to judge her for that? No, not really. That's an understandable way of looking at it. But here's the thing. She's not like a cool, like, oh, I hate this man because he's such a burden. I want to kill him and get all the life insurance money. Mah.
Yeah, there's not really like with like traditional genre books, there's like a clear antagonist. You know, there's like a dragon to slay or some monster to fight and things like that. But in this,
there's this one douchebag in the book. There is this one douchebag. Was it Jim Nye?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Jim. Yeah, okay. Jim's the antagonist. Like he's the bastard. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that. No like monster to slay. I mean, you can't really go around slaying Jim because that wouldn't be very nice. But
I'd enjoy it.
It is. You'd enjoy it. Yeah, we'll do a little bonus one for you. Yeah. Yeah. So there's no real single person to put all that anger and negativity on that. This is the bad guy or the evil man with the mustache.
Yeah, I mean, as far as antagonist goes, I think the biggest antagonist is James's own personal demons. I mean, not in a literal way, in a thematic way. And I mean, that's basically the whole point of it. Is like, how do we get the antagonist? The thing we've got to defeat is part of yourself, because that's often that's the hardest thing to get over, hardest thing to defeat. I mean, going briefly back to superheroes, because that's what we like to talk about on here. It reminds me very much of two separate superheroes. First, in terms of just like the way it's presented, it felt very reminiscent of Doctor Strange, the classic 70s trippy, wibbly wobbly, timey, wimey Doctor Strange, and just how it's presented and that sort of. And it's really, in fact, James looks a tiny bit like Doctor Strange in a way, with his hair and his goatee.
Yeah, he's got the goatee.
The goatee, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing it reminded me very much of is Iron Man, Tony Stark, who when he was dealing with alcoholism, I read the comments for that, and it's because I like it because when sometimes comics just go like, okay, let's get a bit introspective, let's really think about our character and what they're going through. And I think that's what makes this comic really work, is as much as it is dealing with James and his trippy dream sequences and everything, and his relationship with other characters, it's his own personal journey that is forefront in the narrative.
Oh, it's gone quiet.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, I talk so much that sometimes people just need to. When I give it half over to someone else, they don't know what to do. Oh, am I allowed to talk now? Thanks.
Yeah. Like, is he done? Is he done? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, it's fine. It's great. Yeah. I mean, it is the journey. I mean, we start like the book starts. Usually got the character arc of the upswing of things gradually getting better or worse, and at the start of this book you kind of like see James where things have already gotten worse, and then it's the journey from the lowest point to the highest point instead.
It's a fall and rise rather than a rise and fall.
Yeah, because I mean, once you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up, unless you're me, in which case, oh look, more rock bottom under the rock bottom. Wow, there's a basement to the rock bottom.
You could always end up in Disneyland.
Oh, not again! Jeez! Oh no! Once was enough!
Dream.
I've got my own trauma from that, thank you very much. Oh god, puppets everywhere. Ah! But yeah, and I like that. And I mean, if talking about so James by happenstance ends up with this, as you say, experimental LSD cocaine type pill, and he starts taking on these trips, and he does it not because he's necessarily a drug addict, although he has had his whole thing with trying to quit smoking and stuff like that. It's to help him deal with his problems. He was sort of he has a session with his therapist, and his therapist says, "Oh, dreams can be a really good way to help deal with problems, as well as such things like LSD." Now, I mean, I'm not a therapist. I've never been to a therapist or anything like that. But I'm pretty sure that if you were a therapist, you wouldn't mention, hey, you know what's another good way of dealing with your problems? Drugs! Like, even just mentioning that offhandedly, I think would probably not be a great idea. And consider the fact that James, like, perks up at this, like, really? What, LSD helps you? Like,
What?
that's a red flag. That's a red flag. But, and so
when we started writing this, there was which was a while ago. There was a type of therapy which was using dream therapy, and it was dream therapy. Yeah, it was dream therapy with which drug was it again, Jordan? It was with some drug.
They were using LSD.
Yeah, that was it.
They were using LSD to stimulate lucid dreaming and doing the therapy sessions within the parameters of lucid dreaming. Yeah,
like really mild doses, but that's where it's based from.
Yeah, because the US government, I know, did a lot of experiments with LSD and stuff like that. Like, just they had people like draw pictures one after the other at varying levels of LSD and at various points during their high, basically. And it's interesting to see its effects. But I mean, for me, with the LSD and the drug taking and stuff like that, and the big trippy fantasy sequences goes on, it felt sort of like a vision quest almost. He's not doing it because at least he doesn't start off as a drug addict. He does it because he wants to help deal with his emotions, and not exactly the best idea in the world, but it's an interesting plot point. And it felt like he was. That's why I think I could consider his journey, because it's not just him dealing with his issues, it's him trying to find a way to deal with his issues.
Well, you know how you're on about like earlier, but there's like, you know, we're always like, you think that we're meant to do the same things, it's in code, it's in our brain. Like that plot point in the book, him actually having the drugs is like a chance encounter. It's not like he's like sought it out. But essentially the drugs are a crutch. It's not that, you know, he particularly wants them, or it's like he's not prepared to deal with his problems. Like, so that's his way. He thinks that's the be all and end all the way, trying to solve it, and he'll solve it through his dreams and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and what I like about it is I say it's a crutch, but also I think it comes down to the fact that there are no shortcuts. You can't cheat your way to mental health. Oh no, not at all. No, definitely not.
You've got to put in the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The work. It comes down to stuff, and that's what I like about it is, it would have been so easy for him to have like a prophetic dream, like, oh, that's what's going on, and now my issues are solved, and that doesn't work in from a narrative perspective or in a realistic perspective, and so him taking LSD is just like the starting point on his realization of that. And also the starting point of him seeing peacocks everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Peacocks galore.
Peacocks
and that's
galore.
not a euphemism.
What kind of euphemism was that? Oh, I see. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I see a peacock. Colorful. Well, then don't wander into the doctor's office. This guy is very sensitive. It's not my fault.
I mean, someone like hearing this the first time, it might seem a bit off the wall, but there is a reason for it. The girl, James' anxiety comes from he hits a girl while driving a car, and the girl is she's been out partying, and part of her dress code is she's got feathers in her hair. One of them is peacock feather, so like that connects back. So when James starts seeing peacocks everywhere, that's because he saw the feather on the girl. So it is all connected. It's sort of like it only all comes together right towards the end, where all these little out there notions.
There's a lot of animal symbology in it. I saw there's peacocks, there's foxes, there's these cats, and they're all meant to represent different things. And it has possibly one of my favourite lines from any comic I've ever read. It's like when I think he's hallucinating or he's in a bit of a dream sequence, and he sees a fox, and he's like, "What, you going to give me advice too?" And the fox says, "Foxes don't give advice, ask a badger." Like, that is just what a fox would say, you know?
Yeah.
Foxes are aloof, man.
Yeah. They're not a guy to get advice from. They don't give you anything good.
No, they just...
It's all coming back to your Mr. Toad party in the bar.
Yeah.
Mr. Badger's there.
You know, Scott, you need to think about where you are in your life. I've got a 5-year plan. Do you? No.
Pretend you do.
Yeah, pretend I do. I just live my life from podcast to podcast, never looking behind, never looking forward, which is not great for organisation.
Oh, is this a point where you like tell us like you're really edgy and always in the present sort of thing?
I live in the now, man.
You're cool. Yeah, dude. Yeah. LSD, Peacocks.
I've never been cool in my life. Jeez. I was never with it. Even when I was the perfect age to be with it, I wasn't with it. At most, I was with adjacent. I was it adjacent.
They keep changing what it is to be with.
Yeah, I know. I can't keep up. At one point, it is fidget spinners. I got a fidget spinner, and now it's moved on again. What am I meant to do with this? I'm spinning
one year it was sloths, next year it was pugs. I don't know what it is now. I think it's unicorns this year. I think we're in the year of unicorn.
Yeah, well, if they make a frappuccino of it, then apparently that's the big thing.
Oh, I see. That's when you know you've made it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Starbucks made a half cup of warm sugar and milk. And apparently that... I'm a tea drinker, okay? I don't deal with that shit. That's my crutch, goddammit.
Coffee. Oh, tea. Tea,
yeah.
I'm a coffee guy. True believer.
Yeah. I used to be a big coffee guy. When I was doing my undergrad in university, I was drinking coffee all the time. I was pounding like triple espressos. And
ooh.
Even though I'm not caffeinated right now, I think you could admit I'm slightly hyper. Imagine me on triple espressos. I was bouncing off the walls. I was like a hummingbird. Yeah, I did a screenwriting course, so I was like constantly hanging around my friends, like, guys, have you seen this film? Have you guys seen this film? I like this film. Have you seen this film? Oh, my heart stopped. Oh, it's going back again. I'm fine.
You like watching the film on fast forward, it's in normal time for you.
Yeah. Why is this film so slow? Come on, faster. It's the Fast and the Furious. And it needs to be more fast and more furious. I'm just kidding. I've never seen Fast and Furious. Rubbish.
I don't think you're missing much.
I know I'm not. I'm not. Actually, I take the back. I saw the first one, and that's enough. I'm done. I don't need any more. Vin Diesel, I like you when you're a big iron robot, but anything else, I don't care.
Oh, it's such a good film.
It's my favourite film. It's so good. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god.
Someone commissioned me early in the year to draw the Iron Giant, and it was one of my favourite commissions I've had this year. It's just it's like a kid in a candy store just getting to draw robots, and
I like it.
Yeah, that film's so good.
I'd really like to see that, just because your stylist in this comic, it's very different than Iron Giant, because Iron Giant, it felt more like a deco punk. It's all very straight lines and very, very blocky and weird, and I like that sort of thing. But I also like your sort of your flowy, more fluid, swirly, blended sort of way. So that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I'll send it over, or send you a link or something.
I might just put it in the show notes. If you got a bunch of artwork that you want to show off, I could put it in the show notes. Just because, we want to get the word out there, guys. I'm going to make you too famous.
Oh, thank you. Well, just to segue in nice and easily, the commission example for the Iron Giant is on the Kickstarter page.
Well, I've been looking at your Kickstarter, and there's a lot of stuff on there. So that seems a good point to talk about the Kickstarter. Now, you've got, as I say, you have a video on the Kickstarter, which is good. You should always do that. And so why did you start this Kickstarter? What's it all for?
Right. So we're raising the money just to print it. So me and Jordan have been working on this book for 2, 3 years on and off. Is it about that, Jordan?
Yeah, it's pushing towards the format now.
Okay. So originally we had a publisher. I won't get into too many specifics because I don't want to burn bridges. But we had a publisher and it was going really well. We had most of the line work finished. And so Jordan had written the scripts, I'd done all the artwork, well, all the line work, and unfortunately ours and I think it was about 5 of the books got axed overnight, which is, it's just something that happens in publishing and you don't always know why. As far as we know, they want to scale down. So we had this massive book with all this artwork, and then we spent nearly a year trying to find a home for it, which it's quite hard to pitch something which is that far into development. So in the end, we just decided, you know what, screw it, we'll do it ourselves. And I've spent the past couple of months doing the colouring and getting it all finished for Kickstarter. So Kickstarter is a way for us to raise money to print it. We can then send it off to the printers. It's almost like a pre-ordering system. And none of the money that is being used to pay me or Jordan. It's just to get the book printed and
get the work out there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's enough money for us to print the book and to sell the book afterwards. So that's where, me and Jordan will pay ourselves a little bit from the book is, through sales afterwards at different Comic-Con events, which will be next year now.
So who's Blue Fox Comics?
Blue Fox Comics is run by Simon Burks. He's our editor, and they're a small UK publisher. They've been up and coming past year and a half. I actually do a lot of work for them. Every book they have out, I'm usually doing the lettering or book design or something, or the artwork. And they do all kinds of stuff. They do sci-fi, they do horror, they do anthology stuff, they do drama, and they published my first graphic novel, which was Sparks and Fallen Star, that came out last year. So we talking to Simon about the book, and he'd seen it at different stages as we're working on it anyway. We came to an agreement that if we raise money to print it, they'll publish it and help us with distribution and that kind of thing afterwards, and help us get the book out there. So it's like a midpoint of they're not investing absolutely everything into paying for it all, but if we raise money to print it, then they publish it afterwards, and they'd be after the Kickstarter stage is when they'll come into it.
I've seen that happen with a lot of Kickstarter stuff. Like whatever, it's lots of different mediums. Some people will come up with like half the funds or a third of the funds or whatever, and someone else will come. I think that's how the Veronica Mars movie actually got made. Stu said, "Okay, if you raise a certain amount, then we'll help you do it." And I said, "Okay, Kickstarter." And when you know it, a lot of people like Veronica Mars, including me. And so, you mentioned Comic-Con. So which cons are you going to?
I do about 10 a year on average, but with this coming out, we'll probably be hitting more towards the 20 mark. So we'll be doing Leamington, all the MCMs, Thought Bubble, basically up and down the country. We'll be here, there, and everywhere. Basically,
there's a con, you'll be there.
Yeah, we'll pretty much be there under a table, with lack of sleep and try and drink as much coffee as possible. But we will be there, Awesome. And Jordan, you'll be coming to them as well, won't you, next year?
I will, yeah.
Yeah, you've yet to dip your
table like a parasite.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Jordan, have you not been to a Comic-Con before?
I have never been. I mean, I've been as a fan, of course, and they're great. But this is obviously like my first, like you say, sizable piece of work. And so, yeah, my first ones will be in support of this book.
Ooh, you're in for a time.
I'm a con virgin.
I think we're going to get him a little name badge.
Oh, wow.
Saying, no, I did not draw the pictures.
I didn't put the words in afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, speaking of the words, something I want to talk about is I really like the dialogue in this, because as much as it is a very trippy, fantastical, surreal experience, the dialogue itself is very naturalistic. These feel like real people talking.
Thank you. I am glad to hear that. That's usually my aim, because I think you can end up with a lot of characters that kind of it depends like a weird thing to say, but they speak like characters, not like people. And that always comes across as really kind of unnatural. So I do this thing where when I finish writing a script, when I finish writing a page or whatever, I will read the dialogue like out loud to myself. And if it doesn't sound like something an actual human being would have said, it gets rewritten, because I think it's more important that they sound like people and have, certain kind of cadences or idiosyncrasies, and they trip over themselves sometimes. And I think that's much more natural.
But there's no incidental dialogue as well. There's nothing like, oh, how's your holidays? Do you want a cup of tea? That sort of stuff. It's all on purpose. There's a point to it all, and it all flows in a certain direction. It's all done. It adheres to the narrative. So that's a very tricky balance to make.
Yeah, I mean, the entire book is. You might have heard it before, but you want to, with comics particularly, you want to show rather than tell. So if something's happening, we need to show it. We don't want to just have James just suddenly blurt out, "I'm not feeling happy today." You need to show it.
Anxious now.
Yeah, we've got to show it with body language and emotion. And
you can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry. That's a pound in the bad impression jar. I do apologise.
Might have put £5 in there. That's a stinker.
Yeah. I'm working at it. My friend Mark Russell, who also comes on this podcast, he's the impressions guy. Whenever we went to university together, and we'd always bounce impressions off each other. 9 times out of 10, his would work, mine would just suck. At this point, I can only do Mickey Mouse and the Joker.
I want to hear both.
Yeah, go on, hit us up.
Hi folks, I'm the mascot for an evil corporation. Ha!
Very nice.
Very nice. Joker.
That was not the Joker, by the way. That was Mickey Mouse. Just in case you were wondering. And as for the Joker... Hello, folks. It's your old pal, the Joker here. That's basically all I got.
Nice.
That's all I got.
That was very creepy down the laptop speakers.
Sorry. Oh, dear.
It's terrifying Jordan's cat.
What is that?
In the room.
I've been working on that's more of a Mark Hamill sort of thing. I've been working on Heath Ledger's Joker. Like, you want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. It's not great. I'm working on it.
You're getting there. You're getting the gravel. The
gravel's there. Yeah.
I believe what doesn't kill you makes you stranger.
I legitimately sat here doing the hand action to go with that impression.
Yeah, you can't help when the Joker. The flair just comes out. You guys do impressions. I didn't mind. Let's hear yours. Come on.
Lyndon, you do an impression of me. Can you do a good Jordan?
No, I can't. I can do a Muggle. That's about it.
You can do what?
A Muggle.
Oh, a Muggle.
That could be anyone.
Exactly.
We're Muggles! Come on! You're doing an impression of you, unless you've got secret magical powers that you have hitherto unrevealed to us.
How about I draw myself doing an impression? Will that count?
That will count. That will count.
Is that a cop out?
That plays into your wheelhouse.
No, I can do a sheep, and that's about it. That's probably it.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear my sheep. Jordan, you must have one. Save me.
I don't, man. I don't. I'm not a good impressions guy. I used to be able to do accents. I once managed to speak in an American accent for long enough for someone to believe I was actually American for the evening. But
Jordan can sing. Aha! I'm out now.
Really? Because we like that on this show as well.
What?
Well, let's just say we do a lot of Disney parody songs on this show.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's hear it. We've said it now. It's out there. Come on.
What, sing or an impression? I'm not singing.
Do an impression while singing, yes.
Yeah, I kind of the Lyndon musical. I want to do an impression. I want to do a musical impression of Lyndon, but I don't know how.
Go. Oh, right. Work on it for next time.
I'll work on some Lyndonisms for next time.
Yeah, so I want to see some good stuff, guys. So getting back to the comic, we're not going to talk about the ending. We're not discussing the ending. But one last theme that I picked up on, this is the problem I have. I feel like I'm back in school. I feel because you read these books and then you have to do an essay on what the central themes were, I mean, you guys probably know about this idea of like death of the author. That you make your own interpretation of any book and what the author intends. I mean, so far I think I've done a pretty good job, but
yeah, you're pretty spot on.
But this other thing I picked up on was the best way I could describe it is the theme of not quite mortality. There's a lot of discussion about death and tragedy and stuff like that in the book, but the big thing I took away was like it's more like not living while you're alive. This idea of you can exist, but that doesn't mean you're living.
Yeah, I think that's probably coming from mine and John's personal life because we've definitely have family members who I wouldn't say are living much of a life or they're due to their actions, which can be substance abuse or related. And that's arguably is that much of a life. So I think stuff like that just seeps in, whether you want to or not.
I think as well, like for me, there were a few years in my life where I just kind of, existed, just kind of coasted from one thing to the other without really a plan, without an idea of what was coming next, without any sort of grand ambition. And I like the ambition. But so you can sometimes fall victim of, just existing and just kind of rattling around aimlessly, and I think that's really quite dangerous if you fall into that pattern.
Oh yeah. Crap, that's what I'm doing.
Correct course.
Yeah. Make a left turn at Disneyland. No.
Oh,
double back.
Yeah, the sat nav's taking us wrong.
I think because the scale of this book and the fact we've worked on it for such a long time, it's definitely changed as events in our life have happened. We've known each other long enough now that we've been through breakups and all that kind of stuff. While we started on doing like one short comic together for Disconnected Press a few years ago. So if you compare where we both were back then to where we are now, like a lot of different things happened, like career-wise and personal life.
And I think a lot of the times, Lyndon, I ended up we had up to 4-hour phone conversations, and I was going through certain issues with anxiety and depression and whatnot.
Yeah.
And kind of we'd have these epic sprawling conversations that have seeped into the book in their own ways.
Oh, that's good. Well, that makes it feel more real. That makes it feel more dynamic, and this does feel like a dynamic book, even though there's no explosions and no anxieties. It's just I like how you can make such an introspective character, an introspective topic, come alive. I just think it works.
Good. We'll put that on the back of the book.
Yeah.
Feel free. Quote me. Quote the hell out of me. I don't mind. And so, brilliant book, guys. But let's talk about what are some of the other things you've done. Now, Lyndon, I think you've done a Dracula something or other.
I have. Yeah. So last year I did a Dracula illustration for fun, as one does.
Yeah.
And
I think I'll do a Dracula illustration today. That seems like a good topic.
Yeah. It was like a little doodle I made in my journal. Went, oh, that's a cover for Dracula. I'll draw that. So I did it as like an art print and had it around Comic-Cons all last year. And the downside to this was that everywhere I went was like, oh, you're doing Dracula. You got to do more Dracula. Drawing my Dracula. Oh, we were drawing more Dracula. I'm just like, I'm going to have to draw more Dracula. Okay. And I reread the book again. And if I was to do that as a graphic novel, it'd probably take about 2 years to do because it's quite a long book.
It's I read a graphic novel of Dracula, and
yeah,
I mean, the graphic novel itself isn't that long, but in terms of how you'd have to go through it, because it was taken very much from the book, and the book is basically just journal entries and diary entries and things like that, and it's quite a long narrative, if not in page count, then certainly in word count.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to spend the time and create the atmosphere and build it up and do it how I'd want to do it, because I love doing silent panels and making sure everything gets the right amount of time. It would take a long time to do so. in the end, I managed a half measure. I did a concertina book, which is like a fold out art book.
Oh, okay.
I took that to Kickstarter around March. Jordan was the guy who interviewed me for the Kickstarter video. Props to Jordan.
The off-camera guy.
Yeah, I needed £600 and I got just under £5,000, so it did really well.
I'd say that did
happy.
quite well, yes.
Yeah. So it did so well, in fact, that I did Dante's Inferno as a concertina as well, and I got to do things like put them in like really nice envelopes with a wax seal and things. So yeah, that was fun. I'm always working on stuff. So I've got a new book coming out with Hellbound Media called Mandy the Monster Hunter. It's about Mandy. She hunts monsters. Pretty much does what it says on the tin.
Really? Because I thought it's about a guy called Reginald who does tax returns.
I mean, that might be more interesting. No, 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 I'm going to get shot by Matt and Mark now. No, the Hellbound Media guys, they've got this character called Mandy, and she's a monster hunter. And every couple of issues with a new story arc, they get a new artist on board to draw it. So I've just finished issue 1, which I think the Kickstarter it. I'm not sure when the Kickstarter's going live, but all the artwork for issue 1 is done. But it will be out on the con circuit next year. And I'm always doing stuff for Blue Fox Comics. They've got a Kickstarter going for Hexes at the moment, which is a horror anthology. I've done a story in that. And yeah, lots of stuff. Stuff that won't be coming out till next year or onwards. So I don't want to turn into the Lyndon Plugs show. So Jordan, yours, go for it.
Yeah, Jordan, what are you up to? What have you been up to? What are you doing?
Well, I actually spent the last year writing the script for another book that I'm doing with Lyndon.
Oh, crap.
But
tell us all about it. As much as you can.
Well, that one's about artificial intelligence and her integration the first artificial intelligence, her integration into modern society, but focusing on the prejudices and bigotries that she experiences. It's kind of a reaction to a lot of what was going on in the world the last year, which I'm not going to get too heavy about it, but with certain elected
I don't know
officials.
what you're talking about. Nothing's happened in the last year. It's been rather quiet, I feel. No major events or major douchebags fucking up the global economy and... Okay, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it.
That there was channeled into this book, right? It was kind of a reaction to that I told through the eyes of this artificial intelligence. So I've been doing that for the last year. I just had some more work in various UK anthologies. So I just did 100% Biodegradable, which had a strip in there. I've got some stuff coming out in the Psychedelic Journal. And so that moment. And again,
there's a thing called Psychedelic Journal? How have I not heard about this before?
How have you not? It's fantastic.
God.
It's so they've been running for a few years now, and obviously they change theme every once in a while. The first 4 issues, I believe it's 4 issues, were time travel based. So trippy stories. Trippy is a constant in my life apparently. Trippy stories about time travel. Then they moved on and did a Wild West issue that I sadly missed out on, which I was gutted.
Oh.
And they are doing Future Wars next, I believe. So they're great. Check them out. The Psychedelic Journal, an extra plug.
Yes, absolutely. No, we're all about plugs in this. Plug it away. We're plugging it in. We're like 50 Shades of Plug up in here. Oh, God. Now that's content images.
Image of a very different plug.
Yeah,
plug the hole.
I knew as soon as I said it. Oh, God, the new trailer for the last one has just come out. They're still doing these things.
Oh. I saw a screen grab where I think they get married or something.
Yeah,
they get married.
They get married. They get married. And oh my! Does anyone give a shit anymore? Does anyone? Not even the two guys playing these two actually care. No one cares anymore. As bad as the first one was, the second one was even worse. And oh my God, how are they still doing these things? We are missing out on Dread. I'm still angry. We don't have a single Dread sequel, but we've got 2 50 Shades of Grey sequels. What is wrong with the world? Sorry. I'm sorry.
And it all started with fan fiction.
Oh, God.
It's cucumber fodder.
It's
no.
what?
Fodder.
I'm not familiar with this phrase.
There's a phenomenon at 50 Shades movie screenings where ushers have complained to their line managers that they've had to remove used cucumbers from the movie theatre.
Oh.
I'll leave it to imagination what the cucumber was used for.
That took a turn.
Maybe they were making some sort of cucumber
Salad?
sandwich. Or salad.
Like, I know movie snacks are expensive now, but that's pushing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. What
There
is-
we go. I've lowered the tone for everyone. Enjoy.
Yeah. Why couldn't you doctor those scripts? Fix them.
Jordan showed me some stinkers of scripts in his time.
Yeah, I see. I can't talk about a lot of the things that I have doctored. I mean, unless I made them worse, but because I've non-disclosure agreements and stuff. But
Absolutely.
I tend to get a lot of things through that are like producers trying to pitch so their movie gets financed, so their TV series gets financed. So they come to me, they hire me, and I shouldn't have probably sent those to you, Lyndon. So that's between us.
Okay. No one heard it. No one heard it.
Just us and the listeners.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been some. There have even been some so bad that even though there was money on the table, I turned them down because I did not want to sit through the script because I thought I would die.
Because as bad as it is watching a bad movie, and it is so bad, I sometimes feel it's worse reading bad scripts. I've read a few bad scripts in my time. I've written a few bad scripts in my time, believe me. And it drags in a way because when you're watching a movie, you just have to sit back and watch. There's not a lot of effort put into it. When you're reading, sometimes when you're reading something that's bad, you have to force your eyes across the page. Just like, no, I don't want to keep going, but I have to. It's exhausting.
Yeah, especially if you're the guy that has to come up with a way to make this less exhausting. That in itself is exhausting.
Yeah. You can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter.
I've rolled a few turds in some glitter.
Yeah, you definitely have. Made them sparkle.
Yeah.
And you'll never know which ones.
We don't need to know. There's plenty of bad movies out there that I can guess. Oh God, I despair sometimes. Oh jeez. Now.
Speaking of triggers.
Oh yeah.
Peter Rabbit.
No!
That's a trigger.
I've talked about this before on this show. I talked about how the first Peter Rabbit trailer and just how bad it was. I recently saw the second one. Fuck. Okay, Dominic, what's his name? Dom Hall Gleeson, you are a good actor. Okay, you are a fucking good. I saw you in About Time. You were good. I saw more recently that you were in the Winnie the Pooh fucking movie. You were really good in that. You're good. You don't have to do this shit. You don't. I saw you in fucking the Force Awakens. I saw you overacting, chewing the scenery. You're better than that. And then this what? It would be fucking it's Sony Animation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Of course, it would be fucking them. It would be fucking them. And right. So you want to mess up? They did the Emoji Movie, right? It's them that did the Emoji Movie.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah, they did the Emoji Movie. You can fuck up emojis. I don't fucking care about emojis. You want to make a shitty movie about emojis?
Didn't they have Patrick Stewart for that as well?
They cast Patrick Stewart as Pooh. They cast him as a poo emoji purely because, isn't it funny? We cast Patrick Stewart as fecal matter. Ha ha ha! Aren't we witty? And I don't blame Patrick Stewart for that because, he's done a million brilliant things in the past to do a million brilliant things in the future because he's great. It doesn't matter. And he'll do his best job as he can as Pooh. He'll just take the paycheck and go. But just because you cast a dignified, Shakespearean-trained British actor as Pooh does not make it funny. You have to try harder. Just like you have to try harder when you're adapting some of the best British literature of all time, The Tales of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix fucking Potter. You bastards!
And that, dear listeners, is a trigger.
I second all of that.
Just breathe.
Breathe.
It's the words cannot describe how shit. Clearly, I mean, so I saw another really bad trailer recently. Sherlock Gnomes. It's a sequel to Romeo and Juliet.
What?
God,
I am not kidding.
Oh crap!
You have that. Oh crap! Was entirely justified. It is Johnny Depp as a gnome version of Sherlock Holmes.
No.
Interacting with Romeo and Juliet, and this is real. I wish I was making it up. This is real, and that was. I mean. Okay. So they're outside the River Thames, and they're looking at all the boats go by, and Sherlock Gnomes, makes a deduction of some kind, and I think it's James McAvoy's Romeo character says, and it's something to do with the boats on the river, and Romeo says, "No ship, Sherlock." Someone wrote that. Someone put pen to paper.
Someone got paid.
Someone was paid actual money to write "No ship, Sherlock." And as fucking disgraceful as that is, I don't really care. I know it sounds like I care, but I really don't. Because it's Sherlock Gnomes. It's Romeo and Juliet. I don't give a single solitary fuck. It's too divorced from the original play for me to give a fuck. But when you are adapting Peter fucking motherfucking Rabbit, you have to try harder. I think about the effort that you guys put into this brilliant comic, how you actually thought it through, both in terms of the art and the dialogue and the characters and the themes and everything, with this thing that you just came up with yourselves. And then Sony, this big company who could get as much talent as they wanted or as they needed, was handed this brilliant story made by a genius, and they fuck it. They fuck it. We're a fucking cucumber.
Nice like you circled back there. Well done.
Yeah, they should have hired me.
It's words cannot describe how shit it is and how shit it is going to be. I never look at YouTube comments. I did for those two trailers, for the fucking Peter Rabbit movie trailers, and people had pretty much the same reaction I just did. Less shouty, perhaps, but
Less caps.
yeah, less caps are more like, wow, this is complete and utter garbage. I mean, James Corden, I like you, James Corden. You're a funny guy. You're a good actor. You have picked some real stinkers lately. I would be severely careful. Because if you're not careful, I'm going to come for you. I will come for you.
He was all right in Into the Woods, wasn't he? Was he in that?
Yeah, he was Into the Woods. He was all right in Into the Woods. Not that great, not that bad.
He's passable.
He was more, I'd say, above average, above passable. Yeah, kind of overshadowed by Meryl Streep, who can do no wrong except for Mamma Mia. Fucking hell. But and
no.
and what else? He was good, obviously, in Gavin and Stacey, and I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling now. I'm really struggling. He was in that movie that I didn't see with Maggie Smith about that old lady who's homeless. He was oh god, he was in that fucking Gulliver's Travels movie. Ugh.
Oh, that looked terrible.
Nah.
Was that the Jack Black one?
That was the Jack Black one, and I like Jack Black as well, but that was not good. And had Jason Segel and Emily Blunt, and it had a lot of good actors. And I think it had Billy Connolly in it as well, and Catherine Tate. And it's just like, why have they got and Chris O'Dowd? It had so many good people in it, but it was just, again, taking another classic piece of literature and just completely misunderstanding it. I don't get it when you're handed. I mean, adaptation is one of the hardest things to do from a writing perspective and from a filmmaking perspective. It is hard. You are transferring one medium into another medium. It is difficult. I would be really interested to see what happens if you took the Mind of James Svengal and put it on the screen. That would be interesting for me. But it is difficult. I get that. I do. But when you are handed a story, a complete story, maybe don't have it all about Jack Black and recruiting little tiny people to reenact Star Wars. Maybe just throwing that out there.
Might be a good idea.
It would be good. I've talked for far too long. about stuff that is not related to you guys. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's fine.
I see. I get triggered.
It's all gold.
Yeah. Speaking of gold, now how much are you looking to get on Kickstarter for the Mind of James Svengal?
We're after $3,000, and I think by the time this goes up, we'll be in our last week. We're about 60% at the moment, so we're about halfway through our campaign at the moment, and it's in that. Usually Kickstarters have a really busy first week, then your first 2 middle weeks are just, it ticks over slowly, and it goes up just not as much, and then your last week you have this mad rush of people going, oh my god, there's only a week left and I forgot about it and I need to back it now. So it's all going to plan at the moment. It's all going well.
So this episode will go out the week from today. We did this a bit early, so that'll be the 15th of November. And so Capers, when you finish listening to us, fucking go and back it, because this is a really good book that people deserve to read. It's very interesting. It's got compelling character. It's got phenomenal artwork. It's well written. It's just a lot of fun. It's one of those books where the first couple of pages I'm like, okay, I'm getting into this. I'm reading. Then I lose myself in the book, and before I know it, I finished it. It's like, what happened? Where did the time go? It's very absorbing. And I really like that in books. Sometimes books you read and they're very good, but you're going from page to page to page. You read it. Okay, that was great. Here, it's you losing yourself in this world that you've constructed. And it was a lot of fun to lose myself in this world. So thank you very much, guys, for doing that.
Well, thank you for reading it.
That's no problem. And I think on that note, we're going to end the show there. Thank you very much to our special guests, Lyndon White and Jordan Adams.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, yes.
No, it's no worries. So if you enjoyed the show, please tell all your friends, shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes. Like, for example, our episode that we did with Rachel Smith about her book, Wired Up Wrong, that also dealt with mental health. It was a very good book and a very good episode. You can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, or at aplacetohangyourcape.com/PodCapers. We have a Patreon, so check out the rewards. Some of the rewards involve us here at PodCapers. That's patreon.com/AP2HYC. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe you want to come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone with the red and blue 3D glasses. Those are mine. And thank you very much for listening. This has been PodCapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. Cue the music!